Hi guys, and welcome back to I Speak English. My name's Haley, and in this lesson I'm going to be showing you 8 different ways to build your vocabulary. So if you're struggling to get your vocabulary up, maybe you can't remember words very well, or perhaps you want to learn some slang or some idioms, this video is going to really help you. It's going to give you 8 easy ways that you can incorporate more English vocabulary into your daily routine so that you can remember it and then you can use it easier in a conversation so you don't freeze or get stuck in a conversation. So we're going to take a look at that in a second, but before we do, please make sure that you are subscribed and you hit the bell so that you get a notification from me every time I upload a new video. There's new videos every Saturday, so if you want to learn weekly, make sure that you hit the bell to get a notification and go ahead and click the subscribe button now and we'll get started. Alright, so let's get started then. Our 8 different ways to learn more vocabulary. So our first way is to read regularly. Now, before you roll your eyes, because you probably don't like reading, you don't have to read books and you definitely don't have to read the news, okay? This is something that a lot of people think really helps, reading the news, and it can, but number one, the news is usually pretty boring, and number two, it's normally quite sad as well, so you might get a bit down while reading it, and also the news tends to have more formal vocabulary. Whereas if you want to learn more kind of informal, generally used vocabulary, what I would suggest you do is follow English-speaking people on social media. So you probably have some form of social media like Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. What you can do is follow people on there, and then while you're scrolling, you'll be reading, right? Because often there's a caption, maybe you go and read the comments, and it's there that you're going to find real English. You're going to see how people actually write and communicate in English. And you can do it without even studying, let's say. You're just scrolling Instagram, right? So you don't have to study, or you don't have to really read in order to learn vocab. So go ahead, find some people that you admire or that you're interested in on social media and follow those people. Or you can find something you are interested in, like a blog. You can just literally search in Google. You can just literally search in Google blog and whatever you're interested in. So you can read a few articles from that blog as well. And that will help you to learn, again, kind of a real vocabulary that people actually use. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to keep a word list. So when you're reading these blogs or you're reading comments on social media, whenever you see a new word, write that word down, okay? You can write it in your phone, you can keep the list on your phone, or you can write it on paper, however you prefer. But the reason this is important is because, one, the act of writing down that word is like an act of reviewing. So you're literally reviewing that word, and also your brain makes an association when you physically write something down. It's actually better to physically write it rather than type it, because your brain has this association with the motor movement that you have to do to write. So I would suggest writing on paper, keep that list and review it regularly. Okay, maybe at the end of every week, review it. Also, every time you write a new word on that list, obviously you're going to see the whole list, so you can review it then. You can just take a look at the list quickly while you're adding the new word, and then you're going to review it once more. And this is a really good way to learn vocab, because once you write it down and you've reviewed it a few times, you'll start noticing this vocabulary everywhere. Okay, you're going to hear it in YouTube videos, you'll see it on a blog, you'll listen to it in a TV series. You're going to start noticing that vocabulary. And again, that's another form of reviewing. Okay, so number 2, keep a word list or a word journal. Really useful. And if you want a kind of more interactive way of reviewing the words in your word list, you can make flashcards. This is a really good way to learn and review vocab. So you can just copy and paste the words from your list into Quizlet. So Quizlet is a free website or a free app that just creates flashcards. So you can literally copy and paste that list and you've got a free flashcard set. You can also play games and quizzes on Quizlet as well to learn that vocabulary, and it gives you spaced recognition as well. So you don't have to review the same words every day. It kind of waits until that verb will be kind of leaving your memory, and then it prompts you to review it. So you kind of keep it in your memory that way. So Quizlet is a really great tool. I use it all the time when I'm studying languages, and I recommend it to my students as well. And I also make flashcard sets for my students. I have also made a flashcard set for you as well if you want to access it. It's all about phrasal verbs, which are great for B2 and C1 level learners. So if you click the link in the description, you can access that flashcard set for free. There's over 100 verbs in there with their definitions, and you can just learn and practice them in a more interactive way. So click the link in the description there and you can access that. All right, so moving on to number 4. So understanding word formation. This is really going to help you with learning new vocabulary. So you can basically double or treble the amount of words you learn if you understand word formation. Okay, so what word formation does, it allows you to kind of get a natural feeling for what words belong to different families and how you can change, you know, a noun to an adjective, or a noun to a verb, or a verb to an adverb. So if you, for example, if you've got the noun in your head, but you want to use the adjective of that noun, but you don't know it, word formation can really help you with this, because you can just kind of guess what it is and you're probably going to be right. So for example, let's take the word interest. Okay, interest is a noun. So if you know some different suffixes or prefixes, you'll be able to make the adjective of this noun, which is interested. So you just add ed on the end, you get an adjective. You can keep going with that and add a prefix on the end, and you get uninterested. Okay, so you can just you're basically learning words or creating words just by adding prefixes or suffixes. Same again with interesting, that's the adjective. I can add the prefix un again to get uninteresting. And then if I want to change it to an adverb, I just have to add ly and I get uninterestingly. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 5 extra words that just come from the word interest. And if you know different suffixes and prefixes, you can just create these words. Obviously, you need to make sure they're correct, but it's like you already know the words without learning them. So if you can understand word formation, that's a great way to improve your vocabulary very quickly. All right, moving on to number 5 then. Learn synonyms and antonyms. Again, you can basically double or triple your vocabulary every time you learn a new word. If you take that word and then you learn a synonym for that word, and then you learn the opposite of that word or the antonym. For example, if we look at nice. Okay, if you think, okay, what's another word for nice? What's a synonym for nice? You go and learn the word lovely. Okay, great. All right, what's the opposite of lovely or nice? You go and learn that word, mean. Okay, so you can kind of associate these words together. So instead of learning one word, you learn 3 at the same time. And you have that association of similar, opposite. Okay, if we do the same with boring, what's the similar word for boring or a synonym? You could say dull, for example. And the opposite of dull is interesting. Okay, so again, we've got 3 words for the price of 1. So every time you learn a new word, try to learn a synonym for that word and try to learn the opposite of that word. And then you've got 3 words instead of 1. All right, on to number 6 then. So practice with context. All right, this is really important. Passively learning vocabulary is not that useful. Okay? Yeah, great, you've learned a word. Then what? Are you actually going to use that word? Just learning that word once, not reviewing it, not practicing it, it's not going to help you, because when you go to try and use it in a conversation or when you're writing, it's not going to come to you. It's there somewhere in your brain, but you won't be able to access it and to use it. You won't be able to speak it. And that's where practice is really important. Okay, so here's a few different ways that you can practice. You can use interactive games. So there's a website called WordWall where you can create vocabulary games for yourself. I use this for my students. I create vocabulary games for my students. I also use it when I'm learning languages as well. You've got flashcards, like I showed you with Quizlet before. Okay. Keep a diary. That's a really nice way to practice vocabulary. Okay, so if you do like one short passage a day about what you did today or planning on what you're going to do tomorrow, it forces you to think of particular vocabulary and then actually write it and use it. So you're getting that practice. Okay, story writing is another good one as well. So if you keep a word list, you can take 10 words from that list, 5 words from that list, and try to write a story including all of those words. And again, it forces you to practice those words in context. So make sure you're practicing vocabulary, not just passively learning it. That way, it's going to be a lot easier to use the vocab you need in a conversation later. And speaking of practicing in context as well, I do have a full video course all about phrasal verbs. I also have one about idioms as well. And in this course, it's all about practice. There's tons of interactive games in there, quizzes, flashcards. You can write stories. It's all about you actively practicing everything that you learn. So not just 8 hours of videos from me, but also the chance to practice everything you learn. I'll put a discount code in the description if you're interested in that, and I'll put one for the idioms course as well. So that's another great way to learn vocabulary. If you like watching videos and getting interactive practice, that's going to really help you. All right, moving on to number 7 then. Watch podcasts and TV shows. So again, remember, you don't have to study in order to learn vocabulary. You can do other stuff as well, like watching TV. It's a great way to learn vocabulary because, again, you see real English or you hear real English and how it's used. If you think your level isn't good enough to watch TV in English, then use subtitles. It's fine. Use subtitles either in your own language or in English. In English, it's better because then you can see how the word is written and then you can write that word down in your list. But you can also use subtitles in your own language as well. But the more you watch, the more vocabulary you will learn. This is exactly what I did when I learned Spanish, actually. When I moved to Spain, I literally put the TV on in my living room for like 2 hours every night for a few months, and my vocabulary shot up. And I was using, again, normal vocabulary, not textbook vocabulary. I was using actual, real vocabulary that people use. So it really helped me. Watching TV shows was really useful. Again, if you can find a podcast about a topic you're interested in, just Google, history podcast or, engineering podcast, whatever you're interested in. Just Google podcast and that word and find something that you're interested in. Find a favorite topic. I am going to add another video to the channel. Not sure if it's going to be out when you're watching this, but I am going to add another video of 5 podcasts or 5 TV shows that will help you learn English. So have a browse around the rest of my channel for that video. If it is out, I'll put the link up here and you can watch that video to find some TV series. All right, and our final way, number 8, is to use language apps. There are a lot of great language apps out there that are really useful for learning vocabulary. I've used quite a few of them when I'm learning Spanish or Japanese, and they're really helpful. So here's just a few that you could use. We've got 5-Minute English. That's great for practicing vocabulary, so you're going to be speaking. So you just get a bunch of questions and you record yourself answering those questions, speaking, and then it will take what you've said and it will correct all of your grammar and your vocabulary. So that's really nice for actually practicing. Quizlet is the one I've already mentioned. Again, really good for practicing vocabulary with flashcards. Word Wall, again, I've mentioned that one. You get lots of interactive games that you can make. You can also look for Scrabble or Words with Friends. That's really good for practicing English, and Boggle as well. You can look for any of those on the App Store or Google Play, and they're just another great way to not only learn vocabulary, but also practice it as well. All right, and that's it. They are your 8 ways to learn and improve your vocabulary. If you found this video useful, please do give it a like. It helps it to reach more people so that they can also improve their vocabulary. And make sure you are subscribed and you hit the bell so that you can carry on learning English with me every week. That's all from me from now. I'll see you in a lecture soon. All right, bye.